Man United need a head coach that's capable of rebuilding the team. Is Ruben Amorim the right man for the job? If we look at his Sporting team, it consistently got ripped apart by the big teams in Europe and he had to rebuild what he was doing. In terms of key positions for Sporting, the two wingbacks, massively important in attack and defence, the screening midfielder and the box-to-box midfielder, so important in making Sporting tick. And consistently, Amorim Sporting got taken apart. First up that midfield line, Joao Palhinha joined Fulham, and of course Matheus Nunes Manchester City. Morita came in as the box-to-box midfielder, and of course Ugarte was signed from Uruguay. Rebuild number one in midfield. The following summer, Ugarte was signed by PSG, of course another rebuild, and Sporting went to Italy, bought Hulmand, a very similar player in terms of winning the ball back, and Amorim coached him to be perfect for his system. Moving on to the fullback, wingback area, again vitally important to Amorim. We saw consistently a high turnover of players. First Nuno Mendes joining PSG, Pedro Porro joining Spurs. This was the first time that we saw Amorim convert an attacker into a wingback in Nuno Santos, but also playing a wrong-footed wingback in Catamo on that right-hand side. Catamo is a left footer, so cutting inside opens up a new angle for dribbles, but also passes. Then once again, we saw another evolution this season with Quenda coming as a right wingback, again left-footed from the academy. But time and time again, the rebuild from Amorim is very, very good. In fact, if we look at all this turnover we spoke about, Sporting made over 113 million euros ignoring academy graduates. And that comes down to the coaching and the improvement of the players under Amorim, but consistently rebuilding his side. This video is brought to you by Manuel, but more on those guys later on. Anyway, you know what time it is, I know what time it is, let's get this party started. Ruben Amorim came to Sporting after just 3 months of management under his belt. And let's be honest, Sporting were a little bit of a mess. Amorim came in not long after 50 Sporting fans broke into the training ground to attack players and staff. This led to the removal of the club president and 9 senior players terminating their contracts at the club. Despite coming in at a turbulent time, Amorim won the league title with Sporting for the first time in 18 years in his first full season as manager. Amorim got Sporting back on track, and despite having a vastly inferior budget to the likes of Benfica and Porto, Amorim got Sporting fighting for titles and competing in Europe. Obviously, the signings weren't down to him, with Sporting director Hugo Viana in charge of those. But Amorim had to consistently rebuild parts of his side with signings or academy graduates. Which brings us to Manchester United. While Sporting are a huge club, the expectations at Manchester United are massive, and the Premier League has more money and is a tougher league. However, if Manchester United's new leadership team of Barada, Wilcox and Ashworth can provide the players to Amorim to fit his 3-4-3, then the Portuguese coach will be well positioned to rebuild Manchester United. So Ruben Amorim can rebuild Manchester United, but where does he start? I think the biggest problem position for Amorim right now in his 3-4-3 is left wing back. I think when you're looking at what Man United have got in that area, the likes of Luke Shaw, who's been plagued with injuries for the last 24 months, and Tyrell Malacia, who's not played a single minute of action, United probably need to dip into the transfer market. There are solutions within the squad when you're looking at players like Harry and Mass that have unbelievable potential, very technical, skillful, we're very comfortable at playing this position, dominating the flank, or looking at alternate solutions, maybe Alejandro Garnacho in that area, Amad Diallo, or playing a winger out of position. But I do think United should enter the market in this area. The wing-back area has been a problem for a number of years now. I think when we're looking at the profile of the player, you're looking at a player that can hold the width, that's a good crosser, that can impact in an attacking perspective with goals and assists, that's got the capacity to attack and defend, but also the lungs and stamina to play 90 minutes. And the dream signing for this position is Alphonso Davies. He would be perfect for Amorim's system and setup. Not only the quality and the speed and the stamina to deal with Amorim's high-pressing system, but also great delivery in the final third. Manchester United are reported to be interested. Alphonso Davies wants around £10 million signing on fee plus £240,000 per week. This wouldn't fall out Manchester United's wage structure too bad, but the reports are Alphonso Davies wants to join Real Madrid, joining the likes of Mbappe, Bellingham and the rest of the team. We don't need to go into names, so could be a little bit far out of Manchester United's price range. Other ready-made options in European football, you've got DiMarco at Inter Milan, a crossing wing-back that plays in one of the best possession-based sides on the planet, has a really good understanding of space, when to be wide, when to make those attacking runs. Alternatively, Xabi Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen filled Alex Grimaldo in that position, a technical player that's very suited drifting inside, almost getting into inverted positions from a wing-back area. They're two options, but I'm going to get into the data. So looking at players that have played more than 90 minutes over the last 3 seasons, we looked at players that not only created chances, so over 2 key passes per game, made tackles over 2 per game, expected assists at 0.2, expected threat at 0.2. In terms of players that came up, Samuel Leno at Atletico Madrid, a player that I really like. Right-footed, can cut inside, can hold the width, can contribute in attack and defence, but Manchester United may want to go for Premier League ready to allow Amorim to not have an adjustment in this key position. And that player, of course, everybody knows who I'm going to bring in right now. That is Ruben Amorim from Wolverhampton Wanderers. I think he's got the quality to play this role. For Wolves, he's played left back in a back four recently. He's played on the left wing when Wolves have played a back four, but also he's played as a left wing back. In terms of defenders in the Premier League this season, he's been directly involved in more goals than any other player. Why is that important? Because Amorim requires goals and assists from those positions. And we saw the importance of attacking wing backs against Manchester City in the Champions League. Maximilian Arejo grabbing a goal just after half time. So of course Sporting have just kicked off. Manchester City are pressing with their 4 forwards. Sporting recycle the ball around the back like they like to do, drawing the Manchester City press on. In terms of Sporting, we can clearly see they want to play through. There's a little overload in the Manchester City lines as Pedro Gonçalves has dropped off. City are pressing in a bit of a man-to-man way, but forcing the opponents to play through that central area. Because of the quality of Sporting's defenders, we see an instant pass for Ignacio to break the lines to Pedro Gonçalves. From this position, Manchester City look okay. Rico Lewis jumps inside. But given the nature of the system and what the wing-backs need to do, you can see top of shot, Arejo is going to provide the width. Not only does this allow them to recycle the ball and then once again penetrate down City's line in behind the fullback, but it's a good way of playing out and around a press. So you see the ball down the line, Pedro Gonçalves turns inside. Instead of what you'd expect a natural wing-back to do, that's maybe overlap and provide the width, Ruben Amorim's wing-backs do attack the inside channels very well, and we see that in this move. Gonçalves dribbling back inside past Mateo Kovacic and then playing a wonderful through ball in behind the back 3 that City have got collapsed. To Arejo running in behind, and then the finish with the left foot is absolutely superb. This is a top goal, but showing the quality and the impact of left wing backs in Amorim's system. And Ruben Amorim has done similar things for Wolves this season in terms of the attacking midfielder moving into the wide area and then the wing back attacking that central space. It's a real good way to disorganise the opposition. You never expect that wing back to make that inside run. And we saw that against Brentford in the recent Premier League game. Wolves hitting a long ball to Strand Larsen on the left-hand side. We can clearly see the flow of Aït-Nouri. He wants to attack the box and get a shot away, similar to Arejo versus Manchester City. So pick up the play with the ball out wide, it gets filtered back inside. Aït-Nouri in this inside position. He takes a really good touch, explodes on the outside and finishes with his left foot. This will be perfect for Ruben Amorim's Manchester United. Aït-Nouri not only operating in the wide area, overlapping the play, but also if the number 10 has moved outside, Aït-Nouri attacking that inside channel and scoring goals. Not only has Aït-Nouri got that quality when finishing, he's quite good on his left foot firing across the goalkeeper, but he's got the ability to spot a pass and carry forward, which I think is 2 other characteristics of Ruben Amorim's wing-backs that we really need to see at Manchester United. And we've got an example of a really good assist against Chelsea. Chelsea on the attack with Caicedo. Aït-Nouri doing his defensive work, but seeing the midfielder Bellegarde intercept the ball. He jumps on it, taking out most of Chelsea's players, with only the back four remaining. Then carrying directly at the heart of the Chelsea defence. Again, another quality of Aït-Nouri is dribbling. He ranks in the top 1% of fullbacks when it comes to dribbling in Europe's top 5 leagues. We can see that carrying across Enzo Fernandez into the final third. But I like Aït-Nouri in these areas because I think naturally he's quite an attacking player. He's got a good vision for spotting the right thing. You know, a normal player potentially would play that ball out wide. Aït-Nouri carries once again. You can see the Chelsea players fixated on him with Matheus Cunha free on the other side of the box. And of course, Aït-Nouri has that ability to get his head up, finds Matheus Cunha, who finishes off the move. That goal and that assist is a great reason why Aït-Nouri needs to be a massive part of Ruben Amorim's rebuild at Manchester United. This video is sponsored by Manuel, and they want you to rediscover your vitality. Manuel is the UK's biggest and most trusted low testosterone clinic with world-class doctors and expertise. 90% of Manuel's patients reported improvements in symptoms in just 3 months. So what are the symptoms of low testosterone? Well, there are a few that are pretty garbage. A low sex drive, low muscle mass, low energy or mood, struggling to fall asleep at night, anxiety, and a lack of focus, all things that are pretty garbage. So why is this important? Well, I've got some statistics for you. 1 in 4 men suffer with low testosterone, with 90% of the men in the UK still left undiagnosed. And this is all started with Manuel's at-home testosterone blood kit. It's a simple prick your finger blood test. You send off your results from the comfort of your home and you can wait for the improvement that Manuel can provide with their TRT service. And for 45% off your at-home blood test, use the code STATMAN45. So the first area of priority for Ruben Amorim to rebuild is left wing back. The second is probably depth at centre back. Manchester United's centre-backs, the backups are ageing, or maybe they're not quite good enough to fit Amorim's system. Harry Maguire could do a decent job at centre-back, but I think after Alessandro Martinez and a Lenny Yoro, there's got to be some adaptation there. Potentially, Amorim could go to his coaching, go to his work with players, and play the likes of Matt Tarawi or a Diogo Dalot at right centre-back. But I do think that left centre-back area is a little bit of a hole, but also I'd also back up the centre-back position as well. That was very, very wordy. So let's go to examples of players that would fit into these positions. So I think first and foremost, Jarrad Branthwaite instantly would improve Manchester United's defensive line. Not only was he ranked in the top 10% of players in terms of dribblers tackled last season, showing his ability to cover, but he's got the pace and the ability on the ball to play it perfectly as a left centre-back from Ruben Amorim's side. In terms of that middle position, Manchester United could go and sign Diamande from Sporting. He's a player I've been watching since he joined from Nordjylland only in January 2023. His improvements in possession, how he commands the team and his defending, there's a lot of quality in this young lad. But if Manchester United want to be quite smart, Johan Tah is available on a free transfer. If you notice, we're looking at the free market here to improve United's squad. We spoke about Alphonso Davies, we spoke about Johan Tah, and we're going to speak about another player a little bit later on. Get in the comments below who you think that player is going to be. But Johan Tah, of course, was in the middle of the centre-back lineup for Alonso's unbeaten season in the Bundesliga. Not overzealous on the ball. He's a retainer, physically very good in the contact, good in the duel, got a bit of pace about him, would be great cover at centre-back, available on a free transfer. So we've created already, using Man United's squad, the likes of Matt Tarawi, Diogo Dalot, could be the right centre-back position. Both players excel when it comes to winning tackles, winning headers, but also tackling dribblers in the channels, which I think is going to be a big thing for Manchester United. In fact, if you look at Matt Tarawi, his stats this season have been ridiculous. With Matt Tarawi ranking in the top 1% of fullbacks in Europe's top 5 leagues for ground duels won, aerial duels won, and of course dribbles completed. Could be a big asset for Manchester United, carrying the ball out from this right centre-back position. So let's take a look at the next area that needs a rebuild at Manchester United. That is central midfield. Probably not been solved for around 10 years since Sir Alex Ferguson. In terms of the interesting side of this, where Kobbie Mainoo's going to play is a really interesting one. I think he could definitely do a job as the 8, as the deep line player, next to Ugarte, really getting on the ball and controlling things. But skill set wise, could really suit the inside right or inside left positions. When you think about what Amorim likes of an attacking midfielder, midfielder. He likes a player that can carry the ball, that can score goals, that can play through balls, that can really make a difference. And I'd argue that Kobbie Mainoo is really good in between the lines at receiving as well. All big things that you'd like to see from an Amorim attacking midfielder. So I'm going to jump back into the Sporting versus Manchester City game and show the impact of Pedro Gonçalves in the transition. This is an area where I think Mainoo could be really good for Manchester United. So just imagine Kobbie Mainoo as the left winger in this move. We pick the ball up with City in the final third with Bernardo Silva. They're going to work the ball wide and then play back inside. And this is where you can imagine Kobbie Mainoo doing a similar thing. Not only has Mainoo got the ability to jump really well and the speed, but in the transition he's very, very good. So we see Pedro Gonçalves put pressure on the football. He wins a great 50-50 with Rico Lewis, carrying the ball through. His feet are fantastic and something that we've seen with Mainoo at Manchester United. Not only that, he's got the ability and the awareness to get his head up and spot the run of Gyökeres going in behind the defence. Then he finds the through ball for Gyökeres to race away on halfway to have a 1v1 with Ederson. Gyökeres goes for the chip, doesn't quite come off, but the threat is there. And that's where I kind of believe or could see Kobbie Mainoo playing for Manchester United. In that attacking midfield area, in the inside left position, looking for through balls. We're talking about the long-term vision here. This is the rebuild. This is probably after Bruno Fernandes. You know, we forget how young Mainoo is, but long-term we could see him as an attacking midfielder, feeding a striker, linking with the wide player, and scoring goals and getting assists. So in terms of that number 8 area, Man United probably need some reinforcements. If Mainoo's going to play high or if Mainoo plays low, definitely need some rotation there. I think my number 1 preference for this position would be Ezequiel Palacios from Bayer Leverkusen. A player that can do it all. That's fantastic when pressing high and jumping, leaving Granit Xhaka, his partner at Leverkusen, sitting a little bit deeper to win the ball back. But he's got the dribbling, the ability to play make from central midfield and very much play box to box. I think another player that would suit this role very well will be Ederson at Atalanta. Again, when you're looking at recruitment for Manchester United's setup and team, it needs to be players that have excelled in 3-4-3s or similar systems. Palacios has done that at Bayer Leverkusen and could be a great option. I think an interesting one as well, going to throw other options in as well. If Manchester United were, for example, to play Kobbie Mainoo a little bit deeper and maybe require another number 10 attacking midfield player, there's a few options that United could go into the market and recruit. Eze, of course, at Crystal Palace would be the Premier League ready option. I think it's about time that he leaves Crystal Palace and takes on a new challenge. But if Manchester United want to become smart in the market, here is an idea for you. So the number 10 that Man United want to bring is kind of that Florian Wirtz player. It's that Jamal Musiala player, a player that's very, very skillful on the ball, that's a good dribbler, that works very, very hard. I think Musiala and Florian Wirtz would be the ideal players to bring in, but would be hard to attain. Manchester United would love to get these players, but the likes of Bayern Munich and Real Madrid have stolen the march in those positions. So why not go to Real Madrid in a similar Martin Ødegaard style move, sign Arda Güler on loan, and then buy him later on. Arda Güler is a player that is featured on this channel before. We looked at it when he was at Fenerbahce, and he is, by God, one of the best 17-year-olds I've ever seen in my life at that time. His ability from deep to control the play, but also play higher up, was absolutely ridiculous. His appreciation for space is brilliant. So, for example, if Florian Wirtz or Jamal Musiala join Real Madrid, why not sign Arda Güler, similar to how Arsenal got Martin Ødegaard. He's a player that could provide creativity from that inside left position, and again would be very, very good. Pedro Gonçalves would be another good option, but kind of we need to move away from just signing players that the previous managers worked with. So Arda Güler, I think, would be an ideal option. Could be available, reasonably cheap, loan deal, buy clause, absolutely sorted. On to the right wing-back position, I think Diogo Dalot and Mazraoui is pretty good depth in that area, to be quite honest. Which player will excel under Ruben Amorim could be quite interesting to see. Diogo Dalot probably has the natural pace and ability to be a little bit more attacking than Mazraoui, but we know Mazraoui's quality in possession that could be an asset. Previously, we've spoken about Mazraoui being a centre-back. We could even see him in central midfield or as a right wing-back. But if Manchester United, again, had a little bit of spare cash, signing Jeremy Frimpong from Bayer Leverkusen would provide something different. Sheer pace, solid as a wing-back, very, very attacking, would provide a threat in that final third. And finally, the number 9 position. This is an area where I feel United already have good solutions. And when you're looking at Rasmus Højlund playing that role in the system, it could work really well. I made a great video looking at Rasmus Højlund and how he'd fit Ruben Amorim's 3-4-2-1. But we've got to remember he's quite a young player, so backup could be needed. The obvious solution to this problem is Viktor Gyökeres, the top scoring player in Europe in 2024. His quality in finishing, his ability to break the opposition's shape and lines with runs, his carrying, he's pretty ridiculous as a footballer and would be a great signing, would easily adapt to the Premier League. That being said, would cost a lot of money, around 60 to 70 million euros, considering the other players I feel are a little bit more important. Signing that striker would be down on the priority list. Other options, obviously Benjamin Sesko, RB Leipzig, another player that's excelled in 2024 with his goal scoring. But if United were to be quite smart within the market, and again, use the free market, this was the question I asked before. Which player is available on a free transfer at the end of this season? And that player is Jonathan David, someone we spoke about on this channel before when he was at Ghent. Similar with Aït-Nouri, we spoke about him when he was at Angers. Yes, we've got the tapes, but Jonathan David could be the perfect player for Man United. Free transfer, 0.6 goals per 90 in 156 Liga games. Lately, he's been playing holding the line himself for Lille with a number 10 in behind him, making those runs and the trademark late moves into the box, but also the finishing. He's also had time playing as an attacking midfielder, which I think he dominates as well, either in a diamond or alternatively behind a striker in a 4-4-1-1, but I think he's got the real quality. This season as well, he is in scintillating form. 7 goals in 10 Liga games and 4 goals in 4 Champions League games as well. But more importantly, it's his durability that I really like. Similar to Bruno Fernandes, Jonathan David has missed just 3 games in his professional career due to injury. Not only would he provide another option up front, for example, if Rasmus Højlund maybe isn't in form, but also he could play a little bit deeper, could operate as a number 10 or a second striker, giving Man United more options in the final third. But I do think Jonathan David will be a great signing on a free transfer and something that Man United need to do to rebuild the club. You also think about his profile as a goal scorer would really fit the Ruben Amorim advanced forward mould. Could be really cheap, could be very available, is a player I think Manchester United should sign 100% of the time. So that is how Ruben Amorim could rebuild Manchester United. I think we'll see a lot of players coming through the academy, as well as these players that we have suggested that Manchester United could sign. Get into the comments below. Who do you think Manchester United should sign to rebuild the football club? We've got to think long term. We've got to think the long-term structure and future of Manchester United in this shape and setup is a way for United to get back to the top. Of course, a big shout out to Manuel who sponsored today's video. If you're new around here, hit that subscribe button, like the video. Until next time, we'll see you later.
Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, why not check out some more content on the Statman Dave YouTube channel.